Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today in this video we are going to discuss about manual testing. So this is a very important thing because in your career, so whenever you are going to join any company, so obviously let's say first you are joining as a manual tester. Okay, so that's why we have to know that what is manual testing, why you use the manual testing, what is the main purpose are there in the manual testing, how we can perform the manual testing, then when we can perform manual testing, or who is the responsible to perform the manual testing, etc, etc. So these are the main things that we have to know. So today in our video I am going to discuss about all of these things. So here I have written some agenda, like what is manual testing, what is the purpose of manual testing, types of manual testing. Okay, then how to perform manual testing, then what does a manual tester do, a simple thing, manual tester responsibility. That is a very important question for interview also. So some interviewer may ask you like manual tester responsibility, what are the manual tester responsibility, like that. Then when we use the manual testing, then when we will not using the manual testing, or some real time example of manual testing. So first let's talk about that. What is manual testing? What is manual testing? So what do you mean by manual? Manual means anything that we are performing by manually. Manually means suppose I am testing any application, or suppose let's say I am cooking any food. Okay, I am cooking any food. So that's why after cooked my food, so what I have to do, I have to taste that. First of all, I have to taste that every ingredients are properly present or not. Maybe salt, maybe sugar. So everything is properly in that food or not. So that means what I am doing, I am doing that as a manually. Manually I am testing. Manually I am checking. So that is manual testing. Manual testing. So whenever we are performing anything by using manual without any automated tool, that is called as manual testing. So manual testing basically it's a type of software testing where a tester manually checks the functionality of an application without using any automated tool. So whenever we are performing any testing without any automated tool, so we are sitting on a chair and we are testing that application manually. So that is manual testing. Means here we are not applying any kinds of automated tool. That is called as manual testing. So manual testing, it's a type of software testing where a tester is manually checks the application functionality without using any automated tool, is called as manual testing. So here the tester acts like an end user. Like we can suppose, let's say I am a tester. So remember that thing, that whenever you are testing any application, you have to make sure that you are a end user. So you have to act like that you are end user. So an end user, what is the main thinking of that end user, you have to also apply that. So a tester acts like an end user. So maybe he can clicking any button, entering any data, and verifying that the application behaves correctly. Suppose let's say I'm taking one example, Gmail. So whenever I want to log in that Gmail, so whenever after entering the username, entering the password, then I'm clicking on the login button or Gmail login button. Then what application behavior? What should be the application behavior? The application or the Gmail should be logged in, right? So that thing whenever we are testing by using manually, that is called as manual testing. Okay, so in a simple word, we can say that manual testing means you test the software by hand to find bugs and check if it works perfectly fine. So manual testing means you test the software by your hand. Means you are sitting on a chair in front of your laptop and you are testing that application by your hand. That is called as manual testing. And in each and every testing, the final goal is that we have to check that expected results is equals to actual results or not. Means as per the client requirement, our application is working fine or not. So that is the main goal. Okay, so that is called as manual testing. Now agenda number 2, point number 2, we can say What is the purpose of manual testing? Why we will use manual testing, or what is the purpose? What is the main objective is there? So any testing, the main objective is that we have to break the application. So break the application means we have to check the application thoroughly. We have to find the bugs. That is the main purpose of any testing. Same for manual testing also. We have to find the bugs. That is the first point. Second point, we have to check that whatever features are present in the application, those are working perfectly fine. Suppose, let's say in a application, one login page is there. So if any user enter username and enter password, and if we click on the login button, so immediately dashboard page will open. So that is the requirement. So whenever we are checking the application by manually, we have to do the same process. Means we have to enter in username, we have to enter the password, then we have to click the login button, and we have to make sure that that application is redirecting to the dashboard page. So that is the functionality, and we have to check that this functionality is working perfectly fine or not. That is the point number 2. Now point number 3, we have to make sure that user experience is smooth. So user experience is smooth mean, suppose let's say I am scrolling any page, and whenever we are scrolling, suppose let's say this is a page, I am scrolling this page, and if the scrolling is not working perfectly fine, let's say I want to do the scroll, and that scroll is automatically going to the bottom, that means this is not the good user friendly. So anything, suppose I am clicking on any button, so suppose there is the button called login. So if I click on the login button, so there should be a loader should be there, it will load, and immediately it will go to the dashboard page. So whenever we click on the login button, we can see that no loader is there. So we are unable to understand that if that login button is working perfectly fine or not. If the login button is working or not, that means there is some user experience is missing. So we have to make sure that user experience is smooth, no problem is there. That is the purpose number 3. And purpose number 4, we can say that ensure that software meets requirements. So that is the main vital thing. Like, so whenever our development team is developing any software, make sure that they are following the customer requirement. Okay, and same for testing also. Whenever the tester is going to test the application, he also check that customer requirements. Means development and testing both will be happening based on the customer requirement. So if the customer says that if we click on the login button, so home page will open. Okay, same thing, whenever the development team is going to develop the application, that should be present on the development also, and whenever we are testing the application, the same thing will be present on the testing also. Means we have to make sure that whatever customer requirement is there, we are meeting that customer requirement. Okay, so ensure the software meets requirements. So these are the 4 purpose. Lots of purposes are there in the manual testing, but these are the 4 major purpose: that find bugs, check if features work correctly, then point number 3, make sure the user experience is smooth, and point number 4, ensure software meets requirement. So this is the main purpose of manual testing. Now next, point number 3, what are the types are there in manual testing? What are the types are there in manual testing? Basically in manual testing there are 6 types are there. 6 types: unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, black box testing, and white box testing. This is the main 6 types of manual testing, main 6 pillar of manual testing: unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, black box testing, and white box testing. Okay, so this is the 6 types. So in our next videos or in our future videos, we will discuss everything, every types one by one in separate video. But as of now, as we are discussing only about the manual testing, so I am going to focus, or I am going to cover only the manual testing things. So in our later video, we will discuss everything, every types in details. Now next point is that how we can perform the manual testing. What is the process of there to perform manual testing? So first of all, as I've already told you that, so whenever we are doing anything, whenever we are doing some testing, or whenever our development team is going for developed, so whenever we are doing these things, so first we have to see the requirement. Whatever requirement has been provided by the client or customer, that requirement we have to see. Okay, then we have to understand the requirement. Okay, so we are seeing, that is a different thing, and we are understanding that thing, that is a different thing. Okay, so first of all, we have to understand the requirement. Whatever client requirement is there, what client expectation, that we have to understand very carefully. Okay, so understand the requirement first. So whenever we can understand the requirement, then only we can create the test scenario. Test scenario means, in a simple term, test scenario means what to test. What to test. Suppose I am testing the login functionality. So that is the test scenario. So in our later video, there will be a separate session for the test scenario topic. So in that video, I will cover everything in detail with the test scenario template. But as of now, in a simple term, for the remembering purpose, what is test scenario? Test scenario means what to test. What we are going to test in that particular application. That is called test scenario. Suppose I want to click the login button. So means we have to check the login functionality. So that is the test scenario. Okay. So point number 2, we have to create the test scenario. How we can create the test scenario? Based upon the requirements, what we have understood. So as per our understanding, based on the requirements, we are going to create the test scenario. So whenever the test scenario has been created, then we have to write the test cases. So test scenario and test cases means how to test. Suppose there is a functionality called login functionality. So login functionality, we are checking the login functionality, that is the test scenario. Now how we can test the login functionality? Maybe we can put some valid username, valid password, then click on login button. Then valid username, invalid password, then click on login button. Then invalid username, valid password, then click on login button. So lots of cases are there. So test, if let's say for a simple example, so let's say test scenario, if test scenario is a father, so the father have multiple childs. Okay, so father have multiple childs. So test case are the childs. Simple understanding thing. So test scenario is the father and test case are the childs. So always test scenario, after writing the test scenario, we can write the test case, because test scenario means what to test and test cases means how to test. So login, we are checking the login functionality, that is the test scenario. So what we are testing? We are going to test the login functionality. Now how we can check the login functionality? These are the test cases. So after creating the test scenario, we have to write the test cases based on the test scenario. Now point number 4, we have to prepare the test environment. So prepare the test environment. Prepare test environment means, suppose our customer requirement is that whatever application we are developing, that application should work on, let's say Windows operating system, Mac operating system, and Linux operating system. And also there is some requirement that the application should work on, let's say Safari browser, Chrome browser, or let's say Firefox browser. Only these 3 browsers. And there is some versions is also there. Or maybe customer requirement is that should be also worked on iOS mobile. Okay, no, only the iOS mobile. That means whatever environment we needed for that particular application testing, that environment is present or not. Also, apart from that, environment means, we can say that I already told you in my previous video that we have 4 environment: dev environment, staging environment, UAT environment, and production environment. Already I have discussed everything in details. So in the staging environment, so as a tester, we are going to test that application in the staging environment. So also we have to make sure that the staging environment is ready or not for the testing perspective. So that also we have to make sure that. So environment means, we can say that the staging environment is ready or not for the testing perspective. And also apart from that, suppose operating system, browser, version, these all are the present or not to test the application. So everything we have to prepare before the testing, right? Why we need before the testing? Because if we can set up everything before the testing, so whenever that application come to the testing end, so immediately we can jump for the testing. So no need, we don't have wait for anyone's, because okay, so that's why we need to prepare the test environment. So now point number 5. So after preparing the test environment, we have to execute the test case. Execute the test case means now let's say the developer has hand over to the application to the testing team. Developer hand over that application to the testing team. Now what tester will do? Tester will execute their test cases. Means whatever test cases we have written previously. So in the real time, whenever we are going to test that application, we will follow the test cases. Means we have to execute the test cases. Okay. So and let's say we are executing the test cases. So we got some defect, we got some bug. So obviously we have to log those bugs. We have to log those bugs. Let's say I have found 100 bugs. So those 100 bugs we have to log. Otherwise, if I go to the developer, if I tell the developer that boss, I got some 100 bugs and you fix it. So maybe developer cannot remember everything. So some bug may be missed. So that's why whenever we found any bugs during our testing, so obviously we have to log all those bugs. We have to log all those defects. So the point number 6 is logging defects. Now, whenever we are logging the defects, obviously development team will, whenever we are logging any defects, the development team will fix all those bugs. So after fixation, the development team will notify us that yes, all the bug has been fixed. So what we will do then as a testing team? So we will do the retesting. Retesting means testing the same bug again. Retesting means again testing. Again, we have to do the retesting, and also we have to perform the regression testing. So regression testing means, so I am giving you some small example. Okay, in our upcoming videos, there will be separate session for regression testing. So all will be covered there. But as a simple term, I can say you that regression testing means, suppose in a application, suppose let's say I'm going to give one example. So let me open the Paint. Okay. So let's say this is one application. In that application, there is one username field is there, one password field is there, and let's say one login button is there. Now, so let's say client has made some another requirement that here we have to do some another option called, let's say, forget your password. Forget your password. So that is a new requirement. So already this functionality is working fine. This functionality is working fine, but client request for some new feature like forget your password. So regression testing means, so whenever this application or whenever this feature has been implemented, then as a testing team we have to make sure that we have to test that feature separately. That is fine, and also make sure that after implementing this new feature, the existing feature is working perfectly fine or not. By implementing this new feature, there should not be any impacting on this existing feature. That we have to make sure. That is called as regression testing. So we have to do the retesting and we have to do the regression testing. That is the point number 7. Then if everything is working perfectly fine, so after doing the retesting or regression testing, if the bug is working perfectly fine, then we can say that we can close the test. Means whatever bug we have, we can close that. So this is the total 8 steps to perform the manual testing. First, we have to understand the requirements. Then we have to create the test scenario based on the requirements. Then we have to write the test case based upon the test scenario. Then we have to prepare the test environment for the testing. Then we have to execute the test cases. Whatever test case we have written previously, in our real-time testing, we have to execute those test cases. Then whenever we are executing the test cases, if we find any bug, So we have to log those. So whenever logging, after logging those bugs, developer will do the fixation. So after development, after fixed by the developer, as a tester, we have to do the retesting and regression testing. So retesting ensures that whatever bugs we have logged, that is working perfectly fine. And regression testing means whatever bug is there, by fixing that particular bugs, the existing feature should not any impact. Okay, that is called regression testing. So we have to do the regression testing and retesting, and if everything is working perfectly fine, then we can say that the test is closed. This is a test closure. This is the 8 steps of performing manual testing process. Okay, now clear? Fine. Now, point number 5. What does a manual tester do, or the manual tester responsibility? What is the manual tester responsibility? What a manual tester do? First, as a manual tester, we have to understand the requirements. Means what need to be tested. Understand the requirement means what needs to be tested. What we want to test. That we have to make sure that that is understandable by us. Okay, so we have to understand the requirements. Then we have to write the test case. Test case means steps to check the feature. Step to check the feature. We have to write the test case. Then we have to execute the test manually, because we are performing the manual testing. So that's why we have to execute the test case by manually. Manually means we can click on any button. We can type anything on the text field. Okay, so etc. etc. So that means we have to execute the test manually. Then at the time of execution, if we find any bugs, we have to report those bugs. If something goes wrong, report the bugs means if something goes wrong. Then after reporting bug, after fixation by the developer, then we have to do the retest. Retest means after bugs are fixed. After bugs are fixed, again we have to do the testing, retesting. Then after that, we have to create a reporting. Reporting means how many test cases we have written, how many test cases we have executed. Based upon that test cases, how many bugs we found. Okay, and how many bugs are fixed by developer, how many bugs are still present. So everything, that is the reporting. Reporting means everything should be present. A total report. So what is the, so if in your interview, if interviewer says you that what is the manual tester responsibility, or as a tester, what is your responsibility? Suppose you are a manual tester. So maybe interviewer can ask you that what is your responsibility? So these are the responsibility. These are the manual tester responsibility. Understand the requirements, then write the test cases, then execute the test manually. Then we have to report the bugs. If something goes wrong, then we have to retest those bugs after fixed. Then we have to create a report. Fully summarized report we have to create. So this is the responsibility of a manual tester. Clear? Now, next point is that when to use manual testing. When to use manual testing, or when we will use manual testing. When manual testing will be used. So if any new features are being developed, so in our application, if any new feature is being developed, let's say, suppose I have a, this is the, let's say this is the login page. This is the login page, and there is a new feature that we have to create a dashboard page. Let's say this is a dashboard page. Okay, so this is a new feature. So when the new feature is there, first of all, we have to remember that, as you already know that for any application testing, first we have to perform the manual testing. If the manual testing is perfectly fine, then we can go for the automation, because we already know that for any application, 100% automation is not possible. So that's why manual testing is a very crucial testing type, very crucial testing type. Okay, so in any new feature, for any new feature, first we have to perform the manual testing. Okay, so new features are being developed. When the new features are being developed, then we have to perform the manual testing. Then if any exploratory testing is needed, then we have to perform the manual testing. Exploratory testing means, suppose, let's say I'm giving you one example. Okay, let's say I am working in a company, XYZ company, from the last 5 years. I am working in XYZ company from the last 5 years. I am working as a QA, or I am working as a tester. Now, so I know each and every scenario for that particular application. Whatever application I am testing from the last 5 years, I know each and every scenario. Now, let's say I don't have written, or I have not written any kinds of test cases, any test scenario like that, etc., etc. I have not written anything because from the very first day I am working on that particular project. So that's why I have not written any test cases or test scenario. Now I resigned that company. Okay, so obviously for my replacement there should be joined on another tester. So let's say one new tester has been joined. Now what will happen? So because I have not written any test cases from the last 5 years, so that will be very difficult to check each and everything by the new tester, because he is the new in this project. So then what he will do? He will do some explore by himself, that what was the requirement, what was the requirement previously. So he will explore everything. He will explore those things by himself. That is called as exploratory testing. Means he will explore everything and he will note it down, and by that particular documentation he will test the application. That is called as exploratory testing. So in this case, some automation testing is impossible, because whenever we are doing some exploratory testing, means we are thinking by ourselves. There is no test cases are there, no test scenarios are there. So that particular perspective, we have to perform the manual testing. So when exploratory testing is needed, then we will perform the manual testing. So there in my upcoming video, there will be a different session for exploratory testing. In that video I will discuss everything in detail, no issue. Okay, so as of now you can understand that what is exploratory testing. So when the exploratory testing is needed, then we will use the manual testing. Now point number 3. Suppose we are testing any application UI. Let's say there is a button. So button, let's say button height width is, let's say 5 by 6. This is the button height width. How can we measure in the automation? Okay, that's why we have to perform the manual testing. Or let's say one button color is let's say red. Now client want to change the button color to orange. Clients want to change the button color to orange. That's perfect. So that's perspective, we have to perform the manual testing. Or any alignment issue, any spelling mistake. So these the type of testing we have to perform the manual testing. Or also the usability testing. The applications is usable for the users or not. Whenever this kind of testing is happened. So in our upcoming video, I will discuss everything on usability testing. No problem at all. Okay. So whenever we will perform the UI testing or usability testing, then we will perform the manual testing. Now, point number 4. For the short-term projects or one-time test. For the short-term project, a application we are testing is a very short, 1 page or 2 page application. So for that short-term projects, we will perform the manual testing. Okay, because automation is more costly. So if there is the application for only 1 or 2 pages, so that is not equivalent to do the automation testing. That is not worthy for the automation testing. That's why we perform the manual testing. So for the short-term project, we will perform the manual testing. If any quick fix or if any minor change has been happened, so there was one issue, that is a minor issue, or there is some minor change from the client side. If that is happened, then we will perform the manual testing. Now that is point number 6 is much important. Human judgment is required. So as you know that by our judgment we will perform the manual testing. By our skill, by our brain capability, okay, by our thinking power, we will test the manual testing. So when the human judgment is required, then we will perform the manual testing. Because if and everything if we depend on the automation, maybe there should be some problem. So all time machine cannot be right. So whenever the human judgment is required, then we will perform the manual testing. Now, initial testing before automation. So as I have already told you that first manual testing, then we will perform the automation testing. So initial testing before automation, manual testing is required. So when we will perform the manual testing? When we use manual testing? When any new features is being developed. Point number 2, any exploratory testing is needed. Now point number 3, whenever we are performing any UI testing or usability testing. Now point number 4, for the short term projects or when we will do some one time test, then we will perform the manual testing. For quick fix or minor change, then we will perform the manual testing. Where human judgment is required, then we will perform the manual testing. And the last one is the initial testing. Before automation, we will perform the manual testing. Okay, clear? Going to use manual testing? Perfect. Now, point number 7. When we will not use the manual testing? When not to use manual testing? Repetitive tasks that are done often. Suppose, let's say, we have a scenario each and every day, whenever we are logging our office day, whenever we are checking our office day, after switch on our system, the first work is that we have to do the logging. That is the repetitive task. Each and every day we have to do the login. Same thing each and every day. So that means we are wasting our human effort. We are wasting our effort. So for that particular perspective, we will do the automation testing. So repetitive tasks that are done often. Suppose let's say we are testing any e-commerce site. So each and every day we are booking 10 dummy products each and every day. So for that particular thing, we will not waste our human effort. So we will do some automation and we will run that automation that will book 10 product each and every day for the testing perspective. Okay. Now point number 2, large data or performance tests. So whenever we will perform any performance testing means suppose suppose there is a application, there is a login page. So whenever we are logging, click on the login button, let's say dashboard page will open. So after clicking on the login button, we can say that it will take lots of time to load the dashboard page. So we cannot check that manually. How we can measure that? Maybe there is some network issue should be there from my end, or let's say there is some any other things, any other laptop, maybe laptop performance is slow, maybe happen, right? So for that perspective, we need some tools. So for to test the performance testing or to test the large data, we need some tools. So for that particular perspective, we cannot use the manual testing. Then obviously we need some performance testing or we need some automation testing, etc. Running test on many devices at once. Okay, how that can be happen? I have one laptop. Let's say I have one mobile. So if we test any application or if I test any application, I can use maximum two gadgets. Maybe I can run it on my laptop or maybe I can run it on my mobile. But client requirement is that at the same time 10 device, we have to test on 10 devices. Where I can get the 10 devices? I have only 2 devices. So that particular perspective, we have to use some grid tool that will run 10 devices at a single time. So whenever we are running test on many devices at once, then we need the automation testing or some grid tools. We cannot perform manual testing. How manual testing can be happen? Because I have only 2 devices and requirement is that we have to run the test, run the functionality for 10 devices. How that can be possible? So that perspective, we cannot use the manual testing. We have to take some help from the automation. So this is the thing, repetitive tasks that are done often, then we cannot perform manual testing. Large data or performance test, we cannot perform manual testing. A running test on many devices at once, we cannot perform manual testing. This is the things where we cannot perform manual testing. Clear? Now, point number 8, real-time examples of manual testing. Let's say this is a very interesting real-time example. What should be the real-time example of manual testing? So if you understand the thing, so you can easily understand everything. Okay. So let me tell you some real-time example of manual testing. Now, first, let's say I am testing some login page. Then what I have to do? Let's say you open a website and test. So you are entering correct username and correct password. So what should be the, if we put correct username, correct password, then what should be the expected results? You should log in. Perfect. So whenever we are entering correct username, correct password, you should log in. That is perfect. Now, if we put some wrong password, obviously there should some show error. There should show some error. Suppose my username is abc@gmail.com, password is 1234. So I am entering wrong password. Let's say I am entering 123. Then obviously there should show some inline message like please check your password. Please put your correct password, like that. Should show error. Or there are some empty fields. It should show warning. Suppose I am not putting any username password, then I am clicking on the login button. So obviously should some show warning. Should show some warning like please enter your username password, like that. So this is the manual testing, login page testing. So what is the manual tested action? Manual test action is that enter different input to see what happens. This is the manual tester action. What manual tester do? Enter different inputs to see what happens. And this is the, let's say this is the desktop testing, or this is the web testing, web application testing. Now let me take some mobile application testing by manually. So you install a shopping app and test. Let's say there is one shopping app is that Flipkart or Amazon. So you have installed that application in your phone and you are going to test that. So what you will do? You can search for product. We have to check that we can search any product or not. Then we have to check that after searching the product, I want to add that product to the cart. So does the add the cart button work or not? Or we can place the order or not? This is a normal process. This is a normal flow. We have to test that. So what should be the manual tested action? Uses the app like a regular user to find any issues. As a regular user, as the end user, we have to check the application and we have to find the issue. So always, in a simple term, we can say that the manual tested action should be to break the application, means to find the issue, to find the bugs. This is always the manual tested action. Okay. Now another example is that online payment. So we are doing some online payment. So you test a payment page. What we can do? Try paying with a valid card. Suppose I want to purchase a mobile. So then I want to paying that from the by online. By online I want to pay. Okay. Then we have to put some valid credit card or debit card, etc., etc. So if we put the correct debit card number or debit card expiry date or CVV, everything if we put correct, then obviously the order should be successfully placed. But if we try some expiry card, okay, then obviously there should show some error. Whenever we are doing some online payment, and if we close our internet and if we try, so obviously there should show some connection error, and obviously, and that should be a good point. That should be a good point. So whenever we are testing, whenever you will be testing anything, make sure in your test case you have written this particular line, that whenever we are testing anything, suppose there is a online application, online payment system, means we need the online system, we need the internet. So without internet, the payment cannot be happen. And if we remove the internet from our system and if we do the payment, if we notice that the payment has been successfully done, that means there is some issue. We have to find those. Without internet, the online payment cannot be happen. So remove internet and try should show some connection error. So what should be the manual test action? So we have to pretend to be different user with the different situation. Pretends to be different user with the different situation, that we have to do some action on that. Okay, so these are the real-time example of manual testing. So I think now you got a clear picture that how manual testing works, what is manual testing, when we will use manual testing, when not to use manual testing, who will perform the manual testing, the tester obviously, what is the manual tester responsibility. So everything, I think you have got a clear picture on that. Okay, so if you guys have any doubt on that, please make some comment. or if you guys like my video, please share that video to your nearest friend. So see you in the next videos with some interesting topic of manual testing or software testing. Thank you.